Welcome back, my friends, to part two of this week's More Bad News, brought to you as always by Camel Cigarettes. Take the Camels Challenge, smoke Camels for 30 days and see for yourself what a difference Camels can make in your life. Well, I apologize for the interruption, but Leo really needed to be let out. So last week I got an email from a former student. Shout out to Dan. Thank you. I appreciate the comment, the question. And so Dan was a student of mine in, I think, 2006 or 2008. He took my History 121, 122 classes, and he got a B plus, I think, pretty good grade, did really nicely. And he asked about extraterrestrials and the impact that this has on our consciousness and on religious thought. And and I just want to say that, hey, I have said over and over again, there is no such thing as a bad question. And when you look at the universe, first of all, this is the Fermi paradox. It's a famous paradox, which is that, if the universe is as big as we now realize it is, 13.7 billion light years old, and billions and billions and billions of galaxies. So it's obvious it's teeming with life. Why is it that we haven't said hello to anybody, met anybody, communicated with anybody? We've been sending off signals, since the beginning of the Industrial Revolution. Somebody should have noticed us. Maybe, some of those civilizations must be more advanced than ours. And so to begin with, I just want to say that we thought the universe was really very small. Remember that one of the themes of the show is that everything we thought we knew for sure has turned out to be completely untrue. And we thought the Earth was the center of the universe, and that the universe was a very small place with the firmament, the skies, and these spheres and whatever. And then and it was only in the 1920s that Edwin Hubble discovered that these little fuzzy dots that, you could see them up there. We called them nebula because they were nebulous, because they were fuzzy dots in the sky. We didn't know exactly what they were. And Edwin Hubble, with a brand new telescope on Mount Wilson Observatory, was able to resolve these images and realize that these were not fuzzy dots within our galaxy. These were galaxies that were very, very, very far away. And he was also able to demonstrate that all of these galaxies, everywhere he looked, all those galaxies were receding from us, and some of them at very near the speed of light. Basically, he made a law: the further away they are from us, the faster they're receding from us. And so suddenly, in the 1920s, the universe was billions of times bigger than we thought it was, and we have been astonished over and over again by the magnitude, not only of the size of the universe, but of our knowledge of quantum mechanics, and of dark matter and all these other kinds of issues that are coming up, which show the complexity of the universe. And of course, they all challenge fundamental religious beliefs. The the idea that God created the heavens and the earth, and created the universe for us is hard to sustain with our current vision of the universe. But back to extraterrestrials, one of the things that has been shocking and really like mortality, something that we have an extremely difficult time grasping, is that there is no now. There is no now in the universe. When you look up at the Andromeda Galaxy, which you can see with the naked eye, the Andromeda Galaxy is 2.5 million light years from the Earth. And what you're seeing is the Andromeda Galaxy as it existed 2.5 million years ago, when the light from that galaxy first left and headed towards us. The period between what we see now, and what is actually happening in the Andromeda Galaxy is there's a 2.5 million year else when. You have elsewhere, something can be elsewhere. This is a concept that we don't normally. Um, Carlo Rovelli, by the way, is the person I was trying to think of. It's always important to identify the source of a quote, and else when comes from Carlo Rovelli. He has a wonderful YouTube video you can watch, Rovelli's Reality, which he's a quantum physicist and one of the leading advocates of loop quantum gravity. But the idea is that uh, there is no now in the universe. What there is built into the structure of the universe is the fact that nothing can go faster than the speed of light, which means that that there are things that are beyond our time frame. They're not within our time frame, and our species exists for a very short time. I mean, we came into existence, we existed for a couple of years, and then we'll disappear. So that most likely civilizations are emerging and dying all over the universe, and some of them more successful than others. And obviously, ours has not been terribly successful. You think about species that have existed on this planet for millions and millions and millions of years. We're not going to make it for millions and millions and millions of years. We're not going to make it for a million years. I mean, we're just, we're done. So we have not been a successful species. So um, the I think it very much like the issue of mortality. It's just something that we cannot really adjust ourselves to. Uh, I think perhaps the Buddhists have done a slightly better job of comprehending reality than the more fundamentalist traditionalists. But I find tremendous comfort, in in the rituals that are the source of my culture. Um, but I don't take them to be scientific fact. It's what what I uh, uh, am embedded in. It's who I am. I can't separate my flesh from my mind, from my body. So thank you, Dan. I appreciate it. Just a few thoughts, but it's a good question, and I appreciated it. And any of my former students, if you have a question you want to ask, just send it this way. The only thing we're selling here on the show is Camel cigarettes, so you're not going to get sold a bill of goods. So what I wanted to do for the history section, I wanted to pick this up because I want to do this. So, but I wanted to do it just a snip here and a snip there. This is, where we left off. Oh, I need to share my screen. That's right. Excuse me. Share my screen. When it comes to technology, okay. So here's the shared screen, and here is the. So this is. The United States miraculously comes out of the American Revolution. We cause a world war, and in the midst of this world war, we bail, and England, France, and Spain, and Holland, it's a whole confederation, fight on, and England emerges victorious in this world war. The world belongs to England. England is this great empire that really, rules. The sun never sets on the British Empire, and it begins here. So, but we managed to remove ourselves from the British Empire, and the period from until 1789, 1790, when George Washington becomes president, is this early period of the Confederation government, and the one achievement of that government in the 1780s. Is the establishment of the Northwest Ordinance, and the creation of the rules and regulations that would govern the creation of these states that became Michigan and Ohio and Wisconsin, etc., out of this area. If you look at this map, you will notice that there are no native tribes here. And it's not that they're not there, but it is very emblematic of what is happening in American history as we move forward. And here's the next map. This is from the next chapter, where America expands from here to here. And once again, there are no tribes delineated here because American history is not about the native peoples who are here, but all the riches, all the resources, all the gold, all of the resources that were going to go to make America the powerhouse that it was, came from the exploitation and degradation and destruction of these people. So that you have privileged workers who have the advantages of this exploitation, and those who are utterly destroyed by it. And that's going to happen repeatedly. That's going to be so as imperialism spreads. Workers in the Western part of the world, in the first world, are going to benefit from the exploitation of peoples and resources from the rest of the world that's being exploited. Um, uh, if you look at the history of poverty, for example, and there's a very good book on the history of poverty in America, from the very beginning to the present, uh, the existence a poor person experiences about the same. I mean, it hasn't changed much at all, um, and uh, uh, and and reforms in order to aid the poor usually aid professional reformers and institutions. So that the one of the things that Atul comments on in an interview he did was that the Affordable Care Act really did help some people, but mostly helped the insurance companies. I mean, it's just when you have no doctors, it doesn't matter that you have insurance. I mean, if the drugstores don't have your drugs and the doctors don't, and every doctor experiences this issue where you have a patient and the insurance company simply refuses to pay for their care, for their medication. I mean, you have to try to juggle around and try to find a way to get them to pay for it, so that if you take a look at the history of wealth and the history of poverty, what you find is that wealth perpetuates itself. There was a study through the Nazi period. You wonder, well, what happened to all these German fabulously wealthy people who supported Hitler? I mean, did they lose everything? No, they came out fine. After the war, they still had their stocks and bonds and corporations. The professors, Atmafayev Fershauer, who was Mengele's mentor, he did fine. He got a job. He was rehabilitated. So that what you have is the privilege perpetuates itself, and oppression is perpetuated by privilege. So we'll leave it there this week, and I wish you well for the next week. Remember, if you're having problems with anxiety, there's nothing that helps as much as taking up the Camels Challenge. Smoke camels for 30 days and see for yourself what camels can do for you in the middle of the night when you're chugging away on a pack of camels. I can tell you, you'll feel better for it. And I'll see you next week.